casualties don't make a person look bad. That's not. So I have no reason to dispute these numbers. I was in Puerto Rico after the hurricane. It was devastated. This was a horrible storm. I toured the entire island, and it's an isolated island that lost its infrastructure and its power for a long time. You couldn't get to people for a long time on the island because roads were washed out, power was gone, and the casualties mounted for a long time. So I have no reason to dispute those numbers. Those are just the facts of what happens when a horrible hurricane hits an isolated place like an island.
Well, the judiciary said 3,000 people did not die in Puerto Rico, and the numbers have been inflated by Democrats.
I don't know. I really don't know the number of deaths, but it was certainly more than 16, whatever the initial reports were. It'd be interesting to find out exactly what happened. Were the deaths a result of the hurricane itself or inability to get, food and water afterwards? I don't know. So something I would be interested in finding out.
Should he be calling that effort an incredible unsung success?
I don't think those are the right words when you talk about loss of life.
Do you think he should show more empathy?
I think it's a tragedy that anybody dies through a natural disaster, that the president has been really good when it comes to helping South Carolina and North Carolina and Georgia. I don't buy the idea that the president is indifferent to our friends in Puerto Rico. I don't buy that, but I do believe that we can learn from the mistakes that were made in Puerto Rico.
What do you think that does for morale of people in your state who are waiting for another hurricane to hit to see him?
Well, I think people, I'm going to the Emergency Management Center here at 12, if I can get out of this hearing, and get an update about what's happening. From my point of view, I'm very pleased with the initial response. What I'm trying to tell people, the government can only do so much. To those who stay behind, you do so at your own peril. As to Puerto Rico, I'd like to find out how many people actually died from the hurricane. That's not a bad question to ask. Is it 16 or is it 3,000? And what led to their deaths and what can we do better?
Do you think the federal government did make mistakes, though, in Puerto Rico?
I'm sure they did. No doubt in my mind that there were mistakes made. And the question is, how much to blame on the federal government, local officials, individuals making poor decisions, and try to learn and move forward. Hurricanes should not be a political issue.
Listen. There's no doubt that there are a number of Democrats that are trying to play politics on hurricanes and in particular using Puerto Rico as an excuse to attack the president. The hurricane that struck Puerto Rico was a tragic disaster, as was Maria, as was Irma, as was Harvey. All three of those hurricanes last year were horrific hurricanes. My home state of Texas took an incredibly hard blow just over a year ago when Hurricane Harvey struck.
This is another example of the president failing to step up and face squarely and take responsibility for and act in response to a well-researched and now, I think, proven record that the damage from Hurricane Maria was significantly greater than was initially reported, and that something like 3,000 Puerto Ricans, American citizens, lost their lives in Hurricane Maria. There are important lessons to be learned about preparation and response that will not be learned if the president continues to insist that this is fake news. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Beyond fake news, it's ridiculous news because it's not accurate. But he also said Puerto Rico is in the middle of lots of water, and that Hurricane Florence is tremendously wet, so it's kind of hard to follow the logic of it. The fact is, Puerto Ricans are American citizens, and they deserve far more help than they receive, and they've not been treated with any sense of care.